guys, M-Tech Guy here. Now if you've been following the channel recently, you'll have seen that I've had a bit of trouble with the E60 M5. It's been giving me a few faults coming up on the dashboard, namely for the DSC system, the EDC suspension, the SMG gearbox and the hill start assist. Now I've been going through quite the diagnostic process with this one. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of patience because it wasn't giving me any hard fault codes initially. It was all just abstract fault codes, mainly for the DSC system, looking at the wheel speed sensors, and the EDC and SMG systems not being able to see all four wheel speed sensors. Now I've had to give it a bit of time. I've had to wait until the component that was causing all these issues has failed more and more, and over time I was able to get some more specific fault codes for specific wheel speed sensors. So just recently I was getting it for the front left wheel speed sensor. What I did is I swapped the two front sensors, so I put that bad one on the front left, well, it's throwing a bad fault code, onto the front right, tested it again, and the fault moved to the right hand side. So what it's looking like is that wheel speed sensor's been causing me all the issues, so we're going to get that changed out today, and I'll run through the procedure and what's required to change out a wheel speed sensor. So what does a wheel speed sensor do? Well, obviously it looks at your wheel speed and it sends that information to your DSC module, and then that processes that information to look after your traction control, your gear changes for the SMG, your EDC suspension, a few other little bits and pieces. So with a model like the E60 M5, there is a lot of equipment relying on that signal being accurate, and when they do start to fail, it can cause havoc with a lot of systems and the car will just play up. It's not going to drive properly. It's going to be a real headache. And in my case, it was quite tricky to diagnose. I did have to leave it for a long time until things started failing more and more. And as these cars get older and older, it's not unusual for a component like the wheel speed sensor to start failing. So anyhow, let's go and take a look at the new part itself that we're going to be fitting today. So this is the new wheel speed sensor that I'll be fitting today. Now I've gone for the ATE branded one. That was the OEM manufacturer for BMW. Now there are cheaper alternatives out there, but myself, I would go for the ATE one or a genuine BMW one. And you can see it's a pretty basic sensor. It's just got the pickup at one end that goes into the hub, and then the other end's just the connection that goes to the wiring harness. All right, let's get it fitted to the vehicle. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to get the front end of the car jacked up. I'll get that front right-hand wheel removed, and then that's going to give us clear access to the wheel speed sensor. Okay, so now we've got the wheel removed, we can see what we're dealing with here. So this is the wire to the wheel speed sensor there. So you can see the connector for the wheel speed sensor makes its connection with the main wiring harness in this box here. So we follow that round, comes around behind the hub, it's clipped in a bracket there, finds its way down there. It's also clipped on the back of the hub there, and then it follows round and connects to the back of the hub there. You can just make it out there. Now there's one Allen bolt holding that in position to the back of the hub. Now before I get too carried away, just bear in mind that you need to be careful opening this door where it's connected to the main wiring harness, because the clips can break quite easy. And also when it comes to remove the sensor off the back of the hub, if you're living in a climate where rust could be an issue, you're going to struggle to get that small Allen bolt out of there. They can round out easy, and the same with getting the sensor out of the hub. Sometimes they can break and shear off sort of flush with the hub, then you've got to mess around drilling them out and whatnot. So if you do struggle with rust in a part of the world where you live, it is worth just dousing the sensor and the Allen bolt at the back there with some WD-40 or some kind of penetrant. Let it sit for a little while, and that's going to give you a fighting chance. Also, where you insert the Allen key, it is worth just cleaning that out, make sure there's no muck or dirt or any rust or anything like that, and then that's going to help save you rounding it out. So to start off with, we'll undo the little door here, so we'll grab it around the back there. It's two clips, that just folds open, and this is the sensor connection for the wheel speed sensor. So we'll just unclip that one. Now we can unclip the sensor, so there's just the wee push tab at the bottom there, just wiggle it loose. It might be quite tight if it's been there for a while, but I have had these apart recently when I swapped them around. So that's that, and then we'll unclip it from the bracket here. And before we get too carried away, just make a note how it's routed, so it goes between the brake hose and the brake pad wear sensor wire there. We'll also unclip it from the back of the shock tower of the hub here. So now we can remove the Allen bolt to release the sensor. Now this bolt takes a 5mm Allen, so I'm using a 1/4" ratchet here today with the 5mm Allen bit on there. And you want to go careful releasing that bolt because we don't want to shear it off or round anything out. I did find that mine came out relatively easy, but we're lucky not to suffer with too bad corrosion here in New Zealand with the climate. That's the bolt out. Now to get the sensor out, it's got a wee tab on the side of it, so it's worth just giving it a twist first before we start trying to pull it out. Let's give it a twist both ways just to release it. Now if it's really stuck, you might want to just grab the back of it with a pair of pliers, and you could also use a small pocket screwdriver behind the tab just to lift it slightly, but do go careful because when they're really stuck they can shear off flush quite easily. So that's out now. So that's the old sensor. Now it is worth just checking the very tip of the sensor there. Now if it's all worn through the plastic, or it's all scuffed up, it is a sign that the tone ring has swollen a wee bit or got some corrosion on it. It's been catching the end of it. So if that's the case, that might be what's causing it to fail, and you'd either want to clean the tone ring up, or just as a quick measure you can also put a washer behind the new one just to space it out a little bit, just for an interim measure, but you really want to get it cleaned up properly and get it fitted properly. But this is all looking good today, even though it's been causing me so much grief, this wheel speed sensor. So let's get the new one fitted. Now we can fit the new one, but before we insert it into the hub there, it is worth just checking the opening, make sure it's all clean of dirt and debris, make sure there's no excessive rust. So if that is the case with yours, just give it a good clean out before you put the new one in. Now I've already done that, mine's not looking too bad, and I've already had these swapped over previously, so it's nice and clear. We'll get that in the hole now, and then we'll line up the tab with where the Allen bolt goes. And of course you want to route it the same way the old one came out. So make sure this is seated fully. I'm kind of doing this blind because the camera's sat right where my head would normally be. Okay, so make sure the hole's lined up there, and then we'll feed that Allen bolt back in position. Tighten her up. You don't need to go mad tightening it. It's only a small little Allen bolt, just enough to secure it and stop it vibrating loose and falling out. There we go. We'll reposition the cable into its clips. Right, now we can plug her back in. Just make sure you've got the orientation correct. We don't want to bend them little pins inside the connector there. They are quite delicate. So we can see that goes around that way. There we go. Now we can reposition it back behind the little door here. And there's a little groove in the end of the cable there on the rubber, just to seat that in the top of the opening. Shut the door. And there we have it. That's the wheel speed sensor replaced, so super easy DIY. There's no reason why you can't do this yourself if you're handy with the tools. And like I say, the main issue you're going to come up against is just that bolt and the wheel speed sensor itself being frozen in the back of the hub there due to muck and dirt and corrosion. So as long as you know what you're up against before you get into the job, it should be relatively straightforward. Alright, so now that's all back together, I'll get the wheel back on, I'll get it dropped back down onto its wheels, and then moving forward, hopefully this has resolved the issue that I've been experiencing with the DSC system with the wheel speed sensors. And what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up video later on just to confirm Right, let's get the wheel on and get it back down on its wheels. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's how you go about changing out your wheel speed sensor on your E60 M5. So fingers crossed, that's hopefully resolved all the dramas that I've been having with the DSC system. What I'll do is I'll leave links in the description below for them diagnostic videos that I filmed previously. Now if you found this video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW E60 M5 content. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.